Hello and welcome to Kain Company. I'm David Kain, and today I'm going to be joined by the General Manager of Toyota Sunnyvale, Mike Shum. I'm going to enjoy this interview because I always love having someone who is responsible for everything within the dealership. Let's get right to it. Joining me now is the General Manager of Toyota Sunnyvale out in sunny California, Mike Shum. Mike, thank you very much for taking some time to join me today.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be online.
Excellent. So let's start out with your position in dealership being general manager. I've kind of watched you progress in your roles as you've gone through the operations. Tell me a little bit about the excitement of being in that leadership position and what it means for people who have just started in the industry. What's it take and what are the secrets to just continued personal growth in this professional development path?
Well, that's quite a few questions, but it is extremely rewarding to be in an industry like this. It is very dynamic. I believe that it will accelerate and change dynamically more than it ever has in the next 2, 3, 5, and even 10 years. I think with that being said, the excitement of being in a role like mine is that I have 200 plus employees. And that's a lot of relationship, rapport building, growth, and sort of career advancement that I can be a part of. And I think there's nothing better than, in a certain manner speaking, being a teacher. Having a child myself, it's one of those things where when you can see other people's growth and their advancement in their career and sort of their skill level and experience building, it is exciting to share that with someone else. And then when you multiply that out by so many different people and from all different backgrounds, educations, and sort of tenure in the auto industry, it's extremely exciting and very rewarding.
Well, something that's become a real cultural benefit for you and your Price Sims Auto Group is the fact that you all really do focus on the development of the employees. You've got a really strong onboarding process. You've got a really strong continual development program. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So I think it's easy to say that it's very important that the onboarding process for any position across the board is extremely important. And if you will, when we're interviewing, you're basically, so to speak, trying on that pair of shoes, and that potential candidate is, doing the same thing from the dealership or the operation standpoint. But all of that, leads you up to the point where you can both say, yes, we'd like to continue down this path, but day one is the most important day because how you act, how you behave, what you said before in the interview, what the company stands for, the culture, the mindset, the expectations, all starts that first day. And so we take it extremely seriously. We dedicate a lot of resources to that. We have very set processes and written processes on how that happens. A very good, if you will, why work here video all the way up, that includes the owners that may or may not be on site at the particular store that day. We definitely have a sort of orientation set up, and then, on a regular basis monthly, because of the number of employees and how many people are being onboarded constantly, there's also, if you will, an orientation directly from the general manager to every new candidate where they get that FaceTime, have lunch with them. They get my vision, my values, my sort of expectations as well. And then from there, we have set training for the departments depending on who the individual supervisor is by department. In sales, an example, it's a 2-week offsite training program along with follow-up, and sort of shadowing for another 2 weeks. And then sort of our long-term commitment is always to be investing in our employees. And in order to do that, we look for training outside of the dealership. Obviously, there is manufacturer training. There's, online tests that they can take. But we're constantly looking, especially in the management level, to give them the skills and the training to develop the ability to lead and manage others. And I think that that's a broad sort of explanation for what we really do on a daily basis when it comes to that, but it is at our core. And then, sort of the best piece to this is that when you really focus on it that much, your retention, skyrockets. And I think everybody would agree that employee retention is, if you will, it could be the most expensive thing that you spend money on, right, with the turnover that happens in a company, or it could be, if you will, your biggest benefit, because now you're developing long-term employees. And part of that is you have to have a place for them to go. And one of the reasons why we're successful is we continue to acquire additional dealerships. And the reason why is because we have that great career path that takes them along where they'd like to go. And to your point, to a general manager level, which can be, once again, one of the most rewarding parts of being in this industry.
It's amazing. You've shared with me over the time how many people have kind of come up and blossomed and gone on using Toyota Sunnyvale as a springboard into other Price Sims operations. And I always, being a basketball fan, I think of the Mike Krzyzewski's lineage of the people who have come up through his coaching as an assistant, and then they end up going out and proliferating successfully at another dealer or another college. So tell me a little bit about your ability to create those kind of general managers who are successful, and does it give you a point of pride to see them be successful outside Toyota Sunnyvale?
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, the best thing that you can possibly do is, first of all, if you're replacing yourself, you're probably, in some respects, irreplaceable. The second side of that is, in the last 6 years, we have graduated 5 general managers that are successful general managers today. My goal is to produce at least 1 or 2 general managers outside of this store based on its size in preparation for an additional acquisition and dealership. And so, if you will, to be able to see my friends, my coworkers, and at one point perhaps people that reported directly to me now sitting across a chair in a general manager's meeting running their own dealership, and then at a certain point of tenure with the company, we developed even a partnership, which there are now 3 of us in the group that are partners with Tom Price and Adam Sims. And so, I can also say that by being able to demonstrate that this has happened, and it's happened successfully, that one of the benefits for me in running my own operation is that I get the very best candidates. So, when you can draw in talent and not always just have to go out there and find whoever's available, right, that is looking for employment, as opposed to those that are coming to your dealership group, those that are that want to be a part of something that's of great growth and opportunity. Once again, I'm working with some very high talent, high performance, high drive, high energy, and very professional people. And so in the end, it's sort of that, it feeds upon itself, and it's, so to speak, self-replicating, because their goal, if they're going to move on to that general manager's level, right, is the same thing. So they're going to find me, or they're going to build me a great, if you will, general sales manager, or a great service manager, so that they can move up to that fixed ops director position, and they can run, once again, a new store, new opportunity. And so, once again, I think it's that sort of collaboration, but also that understanding that by all of us being successful, which is one of our core values, right, to ensure everybody around us is, and once again, it just takes care of itself in some ways. And so there's no mystery, there's no hidden agendas, there's not that sort of, I'm going to kind of keep somebody hidden from information. I'm not going to teach them or tell them everything. I mean, everything is all about, okay, how do we get better every single day? How do I help you to become the very best that you can be? And when that flows through the organization, we definitely have that sort of synergy and energy and that collaboration where we don't get in each other's way. If anything, we get out of each other's way, and we're all extremely focused on getting better. And that includes myself, right? So in that, every day I know that the better I am at what I do and how I do it, then I'm going to be able to pass along even more information. I'm going to be able to give better examples. I'm going to be able to coach better. I'm going to be able to train better. And so it's very important that I continue down my path as well, which, if the title doesn't change, that doesn't necessarily mean that there isn't a lot more out there for me to learn and to do.
Amen. Well, the industry is always throwing challenges at us. Just for the fun of it, as general manager, you supervise all departments. Which department did you find most difficult to kind of become really good at, or not that you're operating them, but to understand them? And I'll just share from my own experience. I started out in our parts department, and then I worked over into the service department, and those managers were so sick of me. They said, "You are so bad at this, you really ought to try selling cars," and that was my niche. So tell us a little bit about which department was a challenge for you, and how do you work to overcome that challenge?
Sure. So my beginnings was starting out as a salesperson at a Ford store, and I've only been at 2 locations. So I worked for them for 8.5 and here for the last 13, and been with the Price Sims Group pretty much since Tom and Adam purchased their first store together, Toyota Sunnyvale. And I would say, when you come from the sales side, that you really need to have that experience on the service side and understand that part of your business. That being said, once again, everybody would always say, if you surround yourself with high talent, high skill, high experience professionals, that you don't have to be the expert. You just have to create awareness, understanding, and then hold people accountable. I think sometimes what happens is, and if you think about any department, if you don't know what great metrics or benchmarks or what expectation should be, I think then you're going to miss something, because you may not have a high enough expectation where your team's actually able to deliver a lot more. But I would say it's not necessarily that you struggle or you have an issue with it. I think where people have the greatest problem, or perhaps in the general manager's role, is when not only do you not have good to great understanding of the department, the expectation, the functionality of it, and how to drive, if you will, success. I think the biggest disconnect actually is just the connection and the relationship and the rapport and the respect of building that connection point to the department head or to the individuals that work in the department, right? And you said it. So they're like, okay, you don't know, you're really not good at it, and please don't stand around us because you're just slowing us down. I think that there's a difference where if you go walk into that department and you observe, you participate, you ask questions, you demonstrate that you're willing to learn, right? So I should understand it better, but in order to do that, I'll consult the experts, right? And they're the experts, and understand that they are where they're at, and my goal, my objective, and my responsibility is to drive even better success and profitability, and also obviously with their success comes greater income for them. So it's about creating the relationship, getting to know the people that work for you, and what can you do to help them to be even more successful. And I think when you demonstrate that, and at the general manager level, at the highest level, right, they need to understand that you care. And so caring, part of that is demonstrating that you want to know more about exactly what they're doing, how they're doing it, and how you can improve it. And all you have to do is give them a tip here or there, and maybe discuss or get out of them what a best idea, best practice may be. And so with that collaboration and that sort of understanding and that relationship, the trust, I think that confidence level goes up, and we're all more successful. So I don't necessarily look at any particular department in my career as a challenge. I more looked at it as an opportunity to get to know, once again, somebody, a department, my individuals even better. And then what could we do, right? Because it's not just one person. I always tell people, listen, the GM title, partner, all of that, it's just a title. Now, I have a different role and responsibility than everybody else in the store, but that doesn't mean necessarily that my job is more important. If anything, it's just as important as every single person's role inside the dealership. And when you think of it as an even keel like that, I think you get the inspiration, you get the empowerment that happens, and then you get that, that once again, that trust built, and the next thing you know, we're all that much more successful.
Excellent. Mike, you always inspire me. It's great to be able to spend time with you, and I look forward to seeing you down the road.
Absolutely. Thank you, David.
Boy, Mike is a wealth of information. He really understands what it takes to personally develop the employees within his dealership. I think the Price Sims Group has done an exceptional job, and Toyota Sunnyvale really leads as the flagship of that organization. Thank you very much, Mike, and I appreciate all of you who have joined us today, and I'll see you next time here on Kain Company.